So this video is a little quick video, hopefully. Wanted to show you this header auger that I just finished rebuilding. It's off of a Massey 35 pull-type combine that I purchased last summer with the intention of overhauling it, and so I'm just in the process of that now. So the word was, when I purchased the combine, the salesman, or the guy who was selling it to me, I don't know whether he's a salesman, whatever, but anyways, he said that the people they had obtained it from, they bought it out of a barn and there it sat in their yard trying to be sold, but they said, oh, it needs a bearing. And then I asked, well, did they say what bearing, So, no, of course not. So there it was. Just tear into it and see what bearing's bad, So that's what I did. So I went through the main threshing mechanism and just kind of methodically went over the machine, and one piece at a time, and kind of had to do a fair bit of work. It's a pretty major restoration that I'm doing on the combine. A lot of rust issues and a lot of old age, plain old age. This is probably about 60, or just over 60 years old, this combine. And so anyways, getting back to the table auger here, I found out where the seized up bearings were. They were inside the auger. There's a bearing here, and there's a bearing here on the crankshaft that holds the disappearing fingers. These are both seized. The bearings on the end, there's a bearing that goes on this end. It's when you install it, and then there's a bearing on this end. The end bearings were free, but these internal bearings were seized. The auger was snubbed right up tight, would not turn, and then they got so. And so I decided this is the time to completely rebuild this header, including the auger. I took the over there's the sickle bar drive. It had a bearing that was completely gone, so I took it apart and overhauled it and rebuilt it with new bearings. And there's 3 bearings, and they're all 3 different sizes. One's a needle bearing on the end that actually runs the sickle bar, and the others are just regular ball bearings. So that's got 3 new bearings in it. This has 4 new bearings in it, and it's got a brand new shaft. And I had to, the old disappearing fingers were worn down to thread, some of them. They were just worn right down. There was less than half the thickness left. So what I did, I don't know what you can see here, some light. What I did was I just used some 1/2 inch hot rolled round, which is the size these were, 1/2 inch. I cut the old shanks. You cannot buy these disappearing fingers, at least, according to the AGCO parts website. But they're just a piece of pipe with a piece of round bar welded to it. They're nothing fancy. So I used the existing pipes and just left 1 5/8 of a shank on them and cut 1/2 inch hot roll round to match, and tapered them down and welded them nice and smooth together and ground them. And so they're all reinstalled. Everything was cleaned up and polished and put all back together. And it took me 1.5 days to get it all apart, and I put it together in 2 hours, just because everything was nice and new and shiny. And that included, I had to drill all the holes through the shaft and fiddle around. So that's an auger. It's an 8-foot header, so it's close to an 8-foot auger. I did a little bit of sheet metal patching on the auger itself. There's a kind of a patch there, and there's a patch there, and just the major patches. There's a few little pinholes of rust and lots of dings and dents, but it's not sufficient to weaken the integrity of the thing. Bunch of these little ball socket things, they were kind of stiff and seized. I got them, put some heat to them and working them and penetrating oil, got them all nice and working. So that's the story on rebuilding the auger. It's not a super difficult job. It's just finicky and frustrating, and you want to have, you know, smaller hands the better to work in there. It's like a 3-inch gap, you know, and my hands are pretty big, so, you know, I had a few blood donor clinics going there, working in there. But anyways, that's the story on auger for the header for the Massey Ferguson 35 pull type. And I'll do a full update video on the combine once I get the header back together and get it all put back together. I was into the bearing place this morning, and of course buying the bearing, the needle bearing for the end of this stub shaft here, and I forgot to buy a new retainer clip, like one of those external circle clips. So I gotta go get one of those, or I would have had that bolted on today too. Just slipped my mind that I needed one of those because it was missing the one that was on it. It was the needle bearing that was on there. It was actually, the needle bearing was fine, but it was just slopping and flopping around in there, and it can't fall right off, but it wasn't, you can even kind of see it was running about halfway down. It wasn't right up where it belongs, where it was supposed to be. So anyways, that's the scoop of that. So, alright, I'm going to sign off for now.